Hey, welcome to another episode of MLM Renegade. Today, guys, we're going to talk about the social media location that is easiest to go viral on and something that you need to be using no matter what your business is. This interview with AJ Wilcox has been a long time coming, and I'm really excited to share it with you. Check it out. So here's the million-dollar question. How are network marketers like us, who've tried everything their upline ever suggested to be successful, and yet still struggled, who grew up with technology and aren't stuck in the 20th century, how are we supposed to grow our downlines and our bank accounts, and yet still have time for real life? My name is JR McKee. Join me as we explore how to use 21st century learning and technology to grow our downlines and build lasting wealth. Simply put, this is MLM done different. Welcome to MLM Renegade. Okay, guys, welcome back. This interview has been a long time coming. AJ Wilcox and I go back a long ways, actually. Go more than a decade. We've been friends, and actually AJ helped me get a job once upon a time, and for that I'm actually really grateful. But AJ left that job where we worked together and started his own agency doing LinkedIn advertising. He works with he's run some of the largest LinkedIn ads campaigns that I've heard of. In fact, I've heard him tell me that they were some of the largest that LinkedIn had actually heard of. So he definitely knows his space. At the time, we were talking about, mid and upper six figures monthly in LinkedIn ads. And I know he's gone into the seven figures monthly now in advertising spend. So while most of us aren't going to be spending $100,000 or $1 million a month in LinkedIn advertising, the experience that he's gotten has been invaluable, and the things that LinkedIn is doing right now, or not doing in some cases, can actually help us out a ton as entrepreneurs and network marketers. And so anyway, AJ, dude, welcome.
Thanks so much. I'm excited to be here. Finally.
Yeah, finally. I mean, I think I started talking to you about coming on the podcast like when I started it more than a year ago. So it literally has been a long time coming. So I'm excited that we could finally make it happen.
Yeah, same here. And to talk about my favorite subject in the world, LinkedIn. Oh, this is awesome. There's no network in the world right now where people are as accessible. So I love it.
And so I use LinkedIn every single day for my day job. And for MLM Renegade, I actually created a new LinkedIn account because I wanted to reach a different audience, right? Because my professional audience of that I've been working with are C-level and VP level executives that maybe aren't exactly right for me to reach out to about network marketing, but I could reach a new persona and reach out to people who might be interested in what I have to talk about. And that's the interesting thing that I found with LinkedIn is that opportunity that's there. And you're right, they're so accessible. Like people are almost begging to be found on there.
Yeah, it's like if you're really good at using the search feature, you can basically inspect anyone's org chart. You can go and find exactly the right people, which is, I think, really exciting because where else can you make sure if I send a message to the VP of Coca-Cola, I'm actually going to get them. There's just no other network in the world that's like that.
Yeah. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that they'll respond because I've definitely sent a lot of in-mail that crickets has been the only response. But that being said, I mean, there's a lot of, there's a ton of opportunity. So as you're working with clients, I mean, tell me about how you're utilizing ads to target people, and then how people who maybe aren't going to spend a ton of money on ads right away anyway, how they can utilize the platform to kind of grow their own business.
Well, I love the ad side of LinkedIn just because we can be so specific about who we want to see our ads. And for those of you who don't know, LinkedIn ads is pretty expensive when you compare it to something like Facebook, where you might be paying $1 to $2 a click on Facebook ads, and you're probably going to be paying $8 to $11 a click on LinkedIn ads. So you go, okay, well, where does LinkedIn really fit in here? Well, if I'm selling a product that the lifetime value of that product is $10,000, $15,000 higher even, then I can way afford to show ads at LinkedIn prices, drive the right people in who are, I'm only paying when they click. So they're showing at least some grain of interest there. And then I can walk them through my funnel and still be incredibly profitable, 3, 4, 5x ROI. So that's the ad side. It's so exciting because you can literally scale it up and say, as many of these people are online and are willing to click on ads, that's how much I can spend. So if you have a wide audience, you could spend a lot. And if you have a very narrow audience, you don't have to spend very much to get in front of exactly the right people. So that's really the ad side. But I think what tends to be the most exciting, I think, for your audience here is the organic side of LinkedIn. If you don't have a lifetime value of $10,000, $15,000 when you close a deal, it's still a really valuable network where you can search, find the right people. And even more exciting right now is how it's the easiest network in the world to go viral on.
Tell me about that.
So I'm sure many of your listeners will remember back in like 2011, 2012, it was the glory days of Facebook where you could post something up organically and tons and tons of people would see it. And then they introduced what they called, what everyone refers to as the algorithm.
Sure.
And that was when really organic reach dropped off. And at that time, Facebook ads were so inexpensive that people went, oh, it's not such a big deal. I was getting traffic for free, but paying 30 cents a click or 10 cents a click, not that big of a deal. So I'm willing to do that. So it kind of became a pay-to-play model, and people became willing to invest in Facebook ads. So then you've got LinkedIn that here about 2 years ago, they rolled out the same algorithm, but instead of cutting off your organic reach, it actually gave you more. And the reason why is only about 4% of people even bother to post on LinkedIn. So 4% of people will post, but 100% of people need content in their news feeds when they log on. So LinkedIn's got to get that content from somewhere. So anytime someone in your immediate network, your first level connections, if they hit like, comment, or share, it essentially reshares your post to a good chunk of their network, who are then going to see, hey, J.R. McKee liked or liked this post, and it'll insert it in their own newsfeed. So now you have, I've got somewhere around 7,000 followers on LinkedIn, but it's really regular where my posts will get 50,000, 60,000 views simply because virality is so easy to get on LinkedIn. Wow.
So when you're trying to create virality on LinkedIn, what's going to be the content that, is there a silver bullet for content on LinkedIn? Because there's some of those things like, there's engagement posts on Facebook, which annoyed the ever-living daylights out of me, but they work, right? And is there an analog to that with LinkedIn?
There is, and there are actually quite a few. If you look at the 3 mechanisms to get someone to interact with your post, the most powerful of the 3, so you have like, comment, and share, the most powerful of the 3 is a comment. So if I could break this down into like point values, I would say if someone comments on your post, it's worth 15 points. If they reshare it, it's worth like 6. And if they like, it might be worth 2. So your goal then in anything you post is to get someone to want to comment. There are lots of different kinds of posts that might make someone want to comment. And we can go through a few examples. Some of the most successful for me have been like, hey, here are 2 options. Maybe I put 2 pictures up and label them A and B. Which one do you like better for my logo? Or which, I even saw someone who redesigns kitchens, and they showed 2 different versions of a kitchen and said, which one do you think would be best for this home, A or B? And of course, everyone wants to share their opinion. So voting, people type A, B, A, and that's going to reshare to their network. So that's a good one. If you can ask for people's opinions, like, hey, I'm looking for someone in X industry who can help me with this. Everyone's super eager to make an intro. If you can share something like, the types of stuff that does really well is really transparent, it's open, it's honest. So I even had a post where I said, hey, I'm a little embarrassed to admit this, but I just figured out a formula that I should have been using this entire time for predicting a cost per lead in marketing. But if I didn't know after 12 years of advertising, maybe some of you didn't either. And sure, there were people who commented and said, yeah, bro, after 12 years, like you could have figured that out with basic algebra. But there were plenty of people who were like, hey, doesn't seem simple to me. Thanks for showing me. I'm going to go and use that now. So anything you can use to get people to want to comment.
So again, engagement and commenting is the king. It's interesting that comments and not a reshare.
Yeah, coming from the world of Twitter, like I know you're really active on Twitter too.
Yeah.
The highest compliment you could pay someone is a retweet, right?
Sure.
Like, so I would have figured the same thing. But yeah, reshares on LinkedIn don't. They're certainly better than a like, but they don't do very well.
It's interesting. I will admit to having, especially if there's a video, for example, at Christmas time, they the SNL video, Coco is for closers popped up. I saw somebody post it, and I'm like, oh yeah, I got it. So I went and found it, and I downloaded it and re-uploaded it and used that. Like, I didn't share their post. I made one of my own that was the same. I said, oh, hey, I saw this on my feed or whatever, and used it. But those are always funny. And it's funny because a lot of LinkedIn is hard because there's a lot of times I feel like that people will be like, hey, that's, we don't need that kind of content here. That's like Facebook, and they get snobbish almost about what kind of content. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, content is content. And I mean, if we've learned anything from the president of the United States, there's no such thing as bad publicity, right? I mean,
True.
If you have people talking, whether they love you or they hate you, like, they're, in fact, I had somebody say once, like basically that there's no money in the middle, either love me or hate me. I don't care which, but there isn't any money in the middle. And that's so true.
Oh, so true on LinkedIn. Absolutely. And on that point, what's so funny is this whole virality concept we've talked about that's driven by comments. Every time some hater comments and says, this isn't appropriate for LinkedIn, what they're doing is they're spreading it to their own network, and it's exactly opposite of what they want.
Yeah, exactly. So, they're not shutting it down. They're actually promulgating it.
Exactly. So
so maybe I need to find some, this isn't appropriate for LinkedIn stuff. That's funny. I've actually got a bunch of kind of the image quotes, some pretty picture with a motivational quote or whatever that I've got actually branded with my logo. And I'm like, I could throw a bunch of those up on LinkedIn on regular occurrence and see what I could get. But it's kind of I need to get in, and I need to grow that secondary LinkedIn network a little bit more. I just need to spend time in there adding and clicking and adding and moving on. So
totally. Well, if you run up against those prudes, the people who are like, this is the LinkedIn police, what I would say is, when people are being themselves, they're being authentic. It doesn't matter where the network is, as long as there's interest around it. And when I publish more personal stuff, it gets more engagement than the stuff that's strictly work. So that's a signal to me, I think, that people care about the personal even more than they care about the business. So yeah, sure, let them hate, but give the network what it wants. And maybe people they want a break from their work all day.
And I think there's something to that, because a lot of times, I think too often we get sucked in. Like I have a friend of mine who is an absolute stud. He is he's like he does financial planning, and he is he lived in the dorms with me freshman year. So now the dude's he handles multi-comma earners and everything in between. So it's kind of entertaining. But the point of all this is he is consistent on LinkedIn. And I think that's the thing that I probably noticed more than anything with LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is in the social arena. If you are consistent, you'll start to garner views. And he gets hundreds of interactions on his LinkedIn posts regularly, because every single day, and sometimes multiple times a day. And a lot of it's, he'll post pictures of family. Today he lives in LA, right? So he posts about Kobe Bryant. He actually has a picture of him with Kobe Bryant. Their daughters are playing an AAU basketball game against each other. And so he's there, like, he's wearing his Lakers, like 27 trophies, thing or whatever, however many Lakers have. Yeah, but, so he's really sad. He's a huge Kobe fan. So today, after the passing of Kobe, like that's, that was relevant. But at the same time, you're right, that whole being you is probably one of the most attractive things, I would say, for everybody.
Yeah. And the lines that I would not cross, I would not bring in politics, I would not bring in religion, and I would not bring in pictures of you partying, holding alcohol, bathing suits, that kind of thing. But outside of that, especially if it can be tied back into you professionally, then I think everything is on the table.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, no, that's awesome. Absolutely. Religion and, which you and I are obviously both religious, but, that's an interesting one to have to keep at bay, especially in, the world that we live in now. I work for I work for a Bay Area company, so it's always entertaining. I have my leftist tears tumbler that I got from Ben Shapiro that I always threaten my boss that I'm going to take with me to corporate and just sit there and drink and let's see what people say. But those are things to keep to, again, that don't belong on there. That can be repulsive in a very negative way, I guess, more than anything. So as somebody's getting started and wants to really get going and using LinkedIn, like what are some tips that you would point them to as far as, starting, let's say they're starting from scratch, right? And they want to build up a following and potentially use it to build their own business for whether it be network marketing or any other sort of entrepreneurial endeavor. Kind of what are some of those tips that you would give them?
Well, very first off, you want a network of people who actually know you. So starting out, if you have 0 connections, go through and start adding all of your past coworkers, your current coworkers, your family, your tight friends, and make sure that you're connected to all those people who care about you and want your success. Then as soon as you've got some sort of network there of people who will then see your content when you share, I would suggest continue to grow that with relevant people. I err on the side quite a bit of
being conservative.
Being conservative, yes, with my followers, with my connections. I don't want you in my network unless we have like a really good reason to want to be connected, or we know each other personally. But certainly there are people who are more willing to say, hey, if you're in my area, I want to connect, or if we do the same kind of thing, I want to connect. But as soon as you start saying, I'm going to let anyone and everyone into my LinkedIn network, now you have a whole bunch of people that you don't have real strong connections with, and they're going to be less likely to pat you on the back with that like, comment, or share when you share stuff. So try to keep your network fairly tight. And then once you have this network of all people who want your success, then start sharing stuff. Think of, I try to do it about twice a week, once on Monday and once on Thursday. So I'll say, for the first half of the week, what am I encountering that would make a really good post that people would want to comment on? And that's how I design my content. And if it's a picture, if it's a video, if it's just text only, then I post it. And over time, I keep trying things, and some will just totally fall flat, and I'll get 500 views, and then they'll stop. And then the others will go up to 80,000 views, and I'll know, okay, cool, I hit a chord there somewhere.
Okay. So when you're wanting to, once you get past to that and you're really wanting to scale it, and a lot of times, obviously if you're looking at LinkedIn as a space to sell things, right? Whether it be service, item, products, whatever. What's the, what are the do's and don'ts when you're trying to sell without selling on LinkedIn?
Oh, such a good question. And I think people's anti-sales radars are very finely tuned by this.
Yes.
Point. So what
as a career sales guy, I can absolutely confirm that is the case.
Totally. And so if I reach out to someone, my plan is to not ever use a cold in-mail if I can help it. Generally, I'm going to reach out with a connection request that I've customized. And I've researched that person to know what types of things they care about, what types of content they share, they interact with. And I may say something like, hey, I saw you posted last week about hiring. I absolutely loved what you said. I feel the same way. I'd love to be connected to you, something like that. And of course, they're going to accept that connection request. You came across them and you mentioned them, like specifically something they shared by name. It's going to stroke their ego a little bit.
Yeah.
So then once you're connected, once they've accepted that connection request, now you can unlimited in-mail each other back and forth. And so I would say challenge yourself for the first 3 interactions with this person. You're not selling at all. Your goal is to build a long-term relationship with this person, not turn them into a deal. But at some point, it's usually within about 3 back and forth, the law of reciprocity will start to kick in, and they'll go, wow, JR has just given me nothing but value. He's sent me links. He's asked for my opinion. He's complimented me. At some point, they're going to say, hey, so tell me about yourself. What do you do? Or how could I help you? Mm-hmm. And at that point, that's an open invitation to, well, here's what I do. And more often than not, well, I won't say more often than not because it's not over 50%, but what you'll have is serendipity on your side so much of the time where they'll say, oh, that's interesting. I was just talking to one of my coworkers. I was just talking to my boss about something like this. And this is really good that we made a connection. And then it becomes when can we hop on a call and chat?
Yeah, no, that's, in fact, that I've seen that work. That works universally. The give more value than you take, and people, the law of reciprocity is real. And I think that whether it's LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or whatever you're using, that becomes real. When you can provide value, people want to help you. I'm working with a friend of mine who we started working together in 2010. So it's like 10 years ago now. We've been friends. And he helps me with all of my social media ads. So Google, Facebook, whatever. He's my ads guy. And I don't pay him. And it's because I've provided him a ton of value with other stuff in the past that he doesn't feel like he can charge me, which is great, and now eventually my working with him will end up in being, eventually I'll pay him because he does such a good job and because he deserves it. But while I'm just getting going and, still in the middle of the grind, having a resource like that is a huge help. And he's told me point blank, he's like, dude, the reason I do this for you is because you give value without asking for anything in return. Like, you just try and help. He's like, and that makes other people want to try and help. And I thought, interesting. So I try and do that more. And, and I find that it works. I had somebody today at my job ask me, like, so are you like a manager or a team leader? I'm like, no, I'm just trying to help. I'm like, yeah, do I want to be eventually? Sure, absolutely. And when we grow our team to where it's supposed to go, I'll probably get that opportunity. But I can act like it now so that the promotion becomes a no-brainer once it actually becomes available. So those are things that I've just glommed onto. So AJ, I really appreciate you coming on. I want to give you an opportunity to pitch something or to tell us about something that something that that you want other people to know, and so that we can so definitely we can provide you value there as well, because you've provided a ton for us. But kind of tell me what you've got going on, what's on your radar, and where we can help you.
Cool. Well, the vast majority of what I do is on the advertising side. So if advertising on LinkedIn is something that you're interested in, if you go to my website, b2linked.com, the letter B, the number 2, and then the word linked.com, hit the contact us link anywhere on the website, and it goes directly to my inbox. And I'm not a sales guy. You can ask any question you want. You're not going to end up on our newsletter or being hunted down. On so much of what we've talked about is the organic side, and I don't really have much of an offer for that. It's just I'm kind of a student of it. But certainly, if you reach out on b2linked.com, feel free to ask any questions. I can point you towards resources. It's a network that I'm super passionate about, and I'm excited to share with all of you.
Yeah, we should. We'll have to talk offline, but I want to talk a joint venture on creating something as a lead magnet giveaway type thing for, especially on the organic side. Create a
cool
PDF type giveaway that we can do together. So anyway, AJ, dude, it's been a pleasure. I really appreciate you coming on and providing a ton of value. So yeah, if you want to check out what AJ is doing, B2linked, it's the letter B, the number 2, linked.com, and check him out. AJ is an absolute stud. So thanks so much, man.
Hey, JR, thanks so much for having me on.
Hey, thanks for listening, and please remember to subscribe. And if you loved us, leave us an awesome review on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you consume your podcasts. Now, if you'd like some free training for your team on how your recruiting efforts can be bettered and brought into the 21st century, go to podcast.mlmrenegade.com and get your copy of the Renegade Recruiting Kickstarter.